So we can go live.
Good evening and namaste. On behalf of India Tourism Mumbai, I welcome you to join our brand new storytelling webinar series. We have been conducting regular webinars for last 6 months on various topics, but today we start off with a new series on storytelling. Before we start, a quick housekeeping announcement. Please keep your mics muted and the videos off. This will allow a better bandwidth. And if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat box for our speaker to reply to that. Well, storytelling is a magical art form that has been carrying and passing along cultures for centuries. In fact, fascinating narratives have been passed along through words, word of mouth, which makes one feel like they are living in the story or somewhat fading away. However, this storytelling is somewhat fading away in the modern era. So many of us have grown up listening to stories from our parents and from our grandparents, etc. And to bring back the magic, today we bring this series where the regional level tour guides from Western region will be weaving verbal magic to take you to places with just their words. In fact, here I would like to quote our Honorable Prime Minister, who during his Man Ki Baat address on 27 September said, there has been a thriving tradition of telling stories in India. There is an important tradition of storytelling in Tamil Nadu and Kerala, which is called Villupattu. He also spoke about various forms of storytelling prevalent in India. In fact, storytelling about places is recognized as a tool to enhance the reputation of the regions as they compete for tourism and economic development spending in this digital age. In fact, now through digital media, people can be encouraged to tell their tourism stories and share their experiences. So here, this is our small attempt to use the digital medium to tell stories of places and bring in some interest in the people about later to visit such places. In fact, if you look at the monolithic structures in the Elephanta, which is the center of our story today, they may just look like a thing of beauty and you can just go around without much knowledge of its history. But a well-informed tour guide can tell you what went into the creation of the UNESCO World Heritage Site. It is just not for Elephanta. This is across the country, where there is so much of marble in stone, there is so much of story across every destination. Today, join our storyteller, Ms. Jaru Barucha, who will take you on a magical walk in the divine Elephanta caves in Mumbai, near Mumbai, to narrate stories written in stone of the cosmic creation. It's a journey which I am sure everybody will enjoy. In fact, let me briefly introduce Ms. Jaru Barucha. She's a senior regional level tour guide based in Mumbai and is very passionate about her profession. In fact, uh, we don't know how many times she would have climbed up the 120 steps of Elephanta, and maybe even not just once, even twice a day during her trips where she is accompanying her tourists. In fact, over the last 17 years of her guiding, she has guided several hundred people and also very many VIPs. With this, Jeru, I hand over the web screen to you. Please take us on the journey to Elephanta, the UNESCO World Heritage Site in near Bombay. Thank you.
Thank you for such a lovely introduction, Mr. Venkatesan. And let me tell you, let alone me, there are senior guides who are 70 and 80 years old and they still climb Elephanta because it's such a beautiful, marvelous place. I'm going to take you not only to Elephanta Caves today, but I'm also going to, because I'm a meditator, a healer, so I'm also going to tell you little stories of what I have discovered from direct knowing. So what you're looking at just now on the screen is the elephant which was at Elephanta caves when the Portuguese arrived in the 16th century. And they started yelling, Elephanta, Elephanta. That's how the place gets its name. Otherwise, the ancient name is Garapuri. Some people say the Portuguese tried to take it to Europe, but it broke. So they dumped it on the shore and they left. The British arrived. Can everyone hear me? There are some people saying
go
they
ahead. You're
cannot
clear.
hear.
We can hear you.
So then the British arrived. So they assembled it back, took it to Bombay, and this is our zoo. And next to it is the Baudaji Lal Museum. So this is where it has been placed. Hopefully someday it will go back to the island. So let's hope for that day. So the ancient name of this island is Garapuri. It is 10 kilometers from Mumbai by boat. And from JNPT, it is 2 kilometers. The island is 2.4 square kilometers wide. And there are 2 hills, so it's about 490 feet height. Now the 2 hills, one hill has Hinayana Buddhist stupa, which belongs to 2nd century AD, built by the Satavahanas. While the main tourist attraction is the 7 Hindu caves, especially the cave number 1, which is built by the Pashupata Shaivism sect. The founder of it was Lakulisa, who belonged to Gujarat from the 2nd century before Christ. Lakulisa is considered the 28th incarnation of Lord Shiva. Now, the cave number 1 has been built by the Kalachuris. When I became a guide, I was told Rashtrakutas. Maharashtra government said it is the Chalukyas who built Elephanta. But let me tell you, I have these prophetic dreams. So one day I asked God, I said, who built it, Rashtrakutas or Chalukyas? Give me a right answer. In the morning, I woke up and what do I see? A word in front of my eyes, Kalachuri. So I Googled and I found that the Karnataka government definitely says that Elephanta was built by the Kalachuris between 6th century AD to 7th century AD. That's their, when they ruled this part of India. Now there are 3 villages on Elephanta, the Seth Bandar, the Mora Bandar and the Raj Bandar. And there are 1,500 people living over here. This is rock cut architecture. Millions of years ago, earthquake took place. Lava came out, solidified into basalt rock. And we have such mountains on the west coast of India. Now, the Buddhist monks had a rule. They could live in one place for 2 nights. So they would live in the cave for 2 nights and then walk on. But in monsoon, when it rains, life comes out. So they started living in the caves for 4 months. And they would sculpt 2 feet of Lord Buddha, Bodhi tree. And this is how rock-cut architecture started with the Buddhist monks. Now, the traders, because all these caves were on the trading routes. So the traders using these trading routes started using them as guest house, then as banks. So as a thank you, they would give some money to the monks who would hire professional artists. That's how Ajanta was built. Kaneheri caves were built. Kala, Bhaja, Betsa were built. In fact, Kala is considered the most beautiful cave ever in rock cut architecture. And Ajanta, as you know, is a World Heritage Site on the UNESCO list. Anyway, I read the other day about that laborers use hands to make anything. Craftsmen use hands and head. And artisans use hands, head, and the heart. So this is very appropriate for Elephanta and for Ajanta Ellora, because these God-realized masters would infuse energies into these artisans to create such magnificent temples. Any person who has this very extraordinary, what do you say, talent, it's not just the talent. It's just that their energies are very high, and in that high energy state, they can make beautiful music. They can paint a beautiful, like Michelangelo painted the Sistine Chapel, or like all these World Heritage sites we have in India, okay, magnificently made. So those are creations which are done at a very high spiritual level. Anyway, hammer and chisel was used. They will build up, they will sculpt up to down. So they would, what they would do is they would make a ladder out of the mountain rock, and they would go up, finish the upper portion, and then as they came down, they would finish the lower portions. So whenever there are incomplete caves, and there are lots of incomplete caves, the upper portion is done, the lower portion is incomplete. And out to in. So that's why you see the outer side maybe less height, and the inner portion better height than the outer portion. Anyway, can we have the next picture, please? Okay, perhaps because there are loose stones which are falling down, but this is actually the entrance, the actual entrance of Elephanta. Maybe the ASI has blocked it because loose stones keep falling from the hill above. So where you see the round shape where people are standing, okay, the Nandi, the bull, must have been seated over there. Now, Nandi has the all the vahanas, or the vehicles of all the Hindu gods, have positive and negative attributes. So the negative attribute of the of Nandi the bull is aggressiveness, but the positive one is fertility and patience, because he's waiting and waiting and waiting for Shiva to come out, and Shiva is the master, so he will come out when he wants to come out. Okay, what did the, can we go in a little? Okay, so from here, what did the temple look like? I've been a guide 18 years, but only once in meditation, I saw what this place looked like. Okay. The Sanctum Sanctorum, where the Shivling is, was covered with real gold cast, with 7 hooded snakes, with eyes twinkling with diamonds and rubies. The Sanctum Sanctorum was painted gold. These pillars were painted gold. Above, on the ceiling, there were like cloud-like paintings with celestial beings looking down, blessing. So that was what was there on the ceiling. The main panel was painted in shades and tones of gold, and the rest of the panels were multicolored with Shiva and Parvati in shades and tones of gold. I only thing I forgot to see is the floor. And I keep on asking architects and archaeologists, and they assure me that the floor would have been simple because they used to put cow dung on the floors. Can we have the next picture? Okay. So now these are there are 8 Dwarpals. I would rather, instead of saying Dwarpals, I think they are Dikpals. They are the guardians of the 8 directions of the world. And they are Kuber in the north, Yam in the south, Indra in the east, Varun in the west, Ishan in the northeast, Agni in the southeast, Vayu in the northwest, Nivriti in the southwest. And naturally, Lord Brahma would be at the zenith on the top and Vishnu in the nadir in the bottom. And let me tell you about, there's one Dwarpal, okay, I don't have the picture of it just now, who, like, see these Dwarpals, you can see they are ornately dressed. They have a crown, they have beautiful jewelry. There's a sacred thread, the Janoi on them, okay, beautifully draped clothes, okay. But there is one Dwarpal, which is of Yam, which is naked. Now, let me tell you what a Portuguese researcher who I accompanied told me. He said it is the only one intact, because many people say that the Portuguese soldiers used to use these statues for target practicing. So in Europe, the oldest son of the king, aristocracy, will inherit everything. Younger sons are left in penniless. So these younger sons, these expeditions that came from Europe came led by such younger sons of the king and the aristocracy. And they identified with what looks like an underprivileged boy, because Yam only has a skull in his head, very simple jewelry, just hoops in his ears, no sacred thread, and is naked, and just a stone in his hand. So that's the story of Yam. And I wanted to, okay, can we have the next, many people say it is a Khandit temple. When we go to the main panel, let me tell you this story. The first time I went to Elephanta was when I went for a study tour, and I did not know it was a temple. So the guide led us from one panel to another panel to another panel, yet another panel. And I did not know it was a temple. Suddenly a waft of warm energy came on my back, and I turned around only to see this shivling. So people might say it's a Khandit temple, but let me assure you, it is not. I mean, once energy is invoked in any sacred space, whether it is a temple, a mosque, a church, or wherever, okay, once energy is invoked, it will stay there forever. And do you know why people remove their shoes when they go into a temple? Please don't ever tell anyone that shoes are dirty. I challenge anyone who says shoes are dirty, please walk around without shoes for 24 hours and they'll realize that it's not worth it. Okay. And when a temple is built, a lot of sacred energy, a lot of sacred geometry, yantras are placed in the bottom of the, in the foundation. And when so many people chant, it vibrates. And when you go barefooted, you absorb those vibrations. So religion is, has no hatred, no superstition, no fanaticism. Anyone in those three categories, sorry, doesn't know his own religion. And this is very much alive. Let me tell you another story. One day I was sitting on the steps of Elephanta. I was doing a standby duty, and I was singing Om Namah Shivaya, Shivaya Namah Om. And suddenly my voice only would start singing Vahe Guru, Vahe Guru, Vahe Guru. And I stopped myself. I said, what am I up to? Again it started Om Namah Shivaya. And again it would turn to Vahe Guru. It happened 3 times. After the 3rd time, I told myself, okay, what does it matter? Immaterial of the name, it's the same God that we worship. Okay. Little did I know, in half an hour's time, 100 children from Punjab, mostly Sikhs, came into the temple. That means they must have landed, and the energy inside Shiva was already like chanting Vaheguru, and I think my what do you say, frequency. My mind was on the same frequency. Okay, so that's why I had picked it up. So this is very much, this shivling is very much live. So anyone tells me it's a Khandit temple, sorry, take a walk. Okay. Now, can we have the next? Can we have the next picture, please? Okay, so this is where the story starts about the Nataraja Shiva. And first of all, more hands or more heads of a Hindu god means more power. One hand holds a damru, the drum. Bible says first was the sound of creation. One hand holds a fire, which is positive energy, which will negate all the negativity. One hand is in this Abhay Mudra, which is saying, I protect you. And another points down as if to say everything that comes from dust will go back to dust. And the left leg tramples a dwarf of ignorance. We all run after money, love, sex, and God keeps it trampled. Let's all of us become crazy, okay, with all the money and lust and power. Anyway, Parvati is dancing with him. There is Tandu the musician who has set the music for Shiva to dance on. There is there is Lord Ganesha and Kartikeya, his brother, the god of war. And there are the other gods, Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Indra, sages and angels who have come to witness the dance of creation. Can we have the next picture, please? Okay. Now, there was this demon. Actually, he was born out of, there's a story about Shiva and Parvati, and Parvati playfully closes the eyes of Lord Shiva. And from the sweat that comes out from Shiva's body, which drops on earth, a baby is born. But he's blind and he's like a monster. So this is Andakasur. And because although Shiva had given him to Hiranya Yaksha because he was asking for a boon for a child, but once Hiranya Yaksha dies, the Asuras refuse to take him in because they know he's Lord Shiva's son, and the Devas refuse to take him in because he's like a demon. So he does a lot of penance to Lord Brahma, who gives him 1,000 heads to be wise, 1,000 hands to do good work, and also gives him the boon if his blood falls on earth, more of his prototypes come out. But instead of using his boons, he was misusing them, full of hatred, full of anger, killing lots of people. Lord Shiva creates 8 mother goddesses to drink up his blood. If you go to the other shrine, when we enter on the left side, there's a small shrine. There are the 8 matrikas, Ashtamatrikas over there. So Lord Shiva creates 8 mother goddesses to drink up his blood. Even they are full. They are tired. Then he makes a mistake. He falls in love with Lord Shiva's wife Parvati and makes a plan to kidnap her. Can we have the Andakasur only? He makes a mistake. He falls in love with Lord Shiva's wife, Parvati, and makes a plan to kidnap her. Now look at Lord Shiva. He's furious. Look at his eyes bulging, nose fuming, teeth clenched. He's waiting for the right moment to strike him with the sword and collect his blood in the bowl. What happens to him, I'll tell you later. And look at all the sages and angels up there besieging Lord Shiva, please calm down. Let's see the other. Next panel, please. Okay. This is the wedding of Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati, Kalyan Sundara Murti. So this is the Panigra ritual which there is, no, go back. Yeah. There is Shiva is the handsome groom on the right side. On the left is his beautiful bride. She has done 1,000 years of penance to get him as a husband. But the wedding is on. She's gone all shy, coy, like a typical bride. Look at her father, the king of the Himalayas, behind her, looking very sad because he's losing his daughter. On the left, there is her brother, Menak. Some people say is the moon god with a kalash, which symbolizes fertility. Then there is Lord Vishnu on the right side, acting as a witness. And down below on the right side, besides Lord Shiva, is Lord Brahma acting as the official priest. And there is a fire in front, and they will take the 7 steps, Saptapadi, okay, where the bride and bridegroom go around the fire. They are asking God to provide them nourishing food, good health, good wealth, increased love and respect for each other, noble children, peaceful long life, and loving loyalty and companionship. Do you know that the Jewish wedding, the bridegroom stands in the middle, and the bride goes around the bridegroom 7 times. In a Greek wedding, the bride and bridegroom go around the altar of the church 3 times. Can we have the next? And there are angels and sages who come to witness the wedding. Okay, now this is not a very clear picture, but on the left, kneeling down is King Bhagirathi. He prays and the river Ganges says, I'll come down with my sisters Yamuna and Saraswati. And but they warn that when we come down, our force is so mighty, it will destroy everything on our planet. So Bhagirathi prays to Lord Shiva, who promises to capture the 3 ladies in the top knot of his hair and let only that much water fall as is needed by Earth planet. Look at Goddess Parvati on the right side. She's looking very angry. Okay, naturally, wives don't like other women sitting on the husband's heads. Okay, and if you see the dwarf in between Shiva and Parvati, they are Gana. They're the army men of Lord Shiva. And there is, as usual, there is Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, Lord Vishnu, and sages and angels who come to witness the coming down of Ganges. These panels are at least 17 feet height. Can we have the next panel? Okay. Now, because of this panel, in 1987, the UNESCO put Elephanta on the World Heritage Site list. And this is not a Trimurti as some people would like to say. This is a Mahesh Murti. This is a Shiva temple. So this is the Advait philosophy where they are saying that Lord Shiva is the creator, he's the preserver, he's the destroyer. Look at the right face. Very feminine, has a glow on the face like a mother who's given birth to a child. Holds a lotus in hand. Lotus blooms in mud. When it blooms, grows pure and pristine because the mud does not stick on because it's got an oil sleek. So it grows pure and pristine. So that's the face of the creator. See this? See the middle face? That's the face of the preserver. Very balanced face, not happy, not sad, not feminine, not masculine. When he created, he knows he will destroy everything. He's not really worried. One hand says, I protect you, and one hand holds a citrus fruit, which symbolizes good health. There's a dragon face on the crown, which was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. This dragon was a great devotee of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva had promised, when my temples are built, you will be shown in some way. So he's shown on the crown. And so this is the preserver. See the third face, very masculine, twirling mustache, has a skull in the head. Look what he holds in his hand. Can you see the snake? What does the snake denote? By the way, the snake is called Vasuki. And what does the snake denote? He's not your ordinary reptile snake. Every human being, whatever our religions are, we have God's energy called up in our tailbone. On our own, we only bring it up till the navel, where we use it for sex and for making babies. That's where the Adam, Eve, and the temptation part comes in the Bible. But when a spiritual master comes and gives you a blessing, a Sadguru comes and gives you a Diksha, this energy starts moving up like a snake. Whilst going up, destroys all your karmic factors. And the day it goes and sits in the crown is the day you realize God. Hinduism calls it awakening of the Kundalini, Kundalini Jagran. Christianity calls it anointing of the Holy Ghost. Muslims, the Sufis, call it tree of life, and the Jews call it Kabbalah. Kabbalah and tree of life are spiritual centers through which this energy has to go up. That means all the prophets of all religions gave the same blessings. No one less, no one more. So it's the commercial priest says, my shirt is whiter than yours. You know what happens in the world. Otherwise, a God realized master will never say that. Okay. So this is creator, preserver, destroyer. And the story will keep on going on. There are two holes above the panel. So it is believed that there was a wooden panel in front, and wooden panel in front was protected this particular sculpture. Otherwise, it would have been broken like the others. Some people say the Portuguese soldiers used to use these for target practicing. But I recently heard one archaeologist say that most of the 80% of the breakage has happened because of the shit of the birds. Okay, and because it's in the middle of the sea, the saltiness of the sea has also affected the stone. Otherwise, and this is the Mahesh Murti, Maha Ishwar, okay, the Supreme Being, Sadashiva, different names, but the concept is that he's the Almighty, the Supreme God of God, all gods. Can we have the next picture, please? Okay. So, see the center figure. See the left and the right side of the center figure. There is, on the right side, you can see a very feminine face, sloping shoulders, breast, delicate hands holding a mirror, has a small waist, big hips to bear children. On the left, it's a square jaw, powerful shoulders, flat chest, V-shaped body, hands resting on a bull. This is the union of Father and Mother God, whether you call it Shiva and Shakti, whether you call it Yin and Yang, whether you call it passive and active energies, call them by any names. Only when they come together, there is creation. They say Lord Brahma created men and they could not create more. So he goes to Lord Shiva, who from his own body creates Shakti. So men and women, and that's how the creation happens. So men and women are equal. Even Lord Shiva is Shav, dead body without his Shakti. So anyone tells you otherwise, please remember ancient India says man and women are equal. Now, where the pictures are not very clear, but where you see a hand with a mirror, on the right side is Varun, the god of waters. Baby is born in a water bag in the womb. So that's why he's present in this panel. And there is Lord Vishnu next to him with goddess Lakshmi in this panel, his wife. And there are maids with cosmetic box and fan on the right side to show the female side. And to show the male side, they've shown Nandi, the bull, who is a vehicle of Lord Shiva, and his son Kartikeya. Can we have, and there are sages and angels who've come to witness the union of Father and Mother God. Can we have the next picture, please? Okay. So this is Lord Shiva and Goddess Parvati playing a game of dice. She has lost the game. So he's trying to console her. Look at her, she's turned away. She's on the right side, she's turned away. So Lord Shiva is trying to console her. And he says, if you win, good. If you lose, there's something like hope. So everything revolves around hope. So how have they shown hope? There's a mother and a baby in the center. And to show that after death, there's always life. By the way, remember our friend Andakasur? According to some stories, Andakasur realized Lord Shiva will kill me, so he reforms. Okay, remember one thing. Many of these stories come from oral tradition. So sometimes the story might differ here, there, and there. So in some stories, they say Andakasur becomes so devoted to Lord Shiva, he would forget to eat and drink. That's why he's become stick and bone, and he becomes sage Bringi. Okay, he's on the left side. And here they are showing, since Lord Shiva lives on Mount Kailash, so clouds covering Mount Kailash. So union of earth and heaven. So this is how they are showing hope. Can we have the next picture, please? We've done this. Thank you. No, go. Oh, okay. Ha. Okay. This is the Ravan Anugrah Murti. Ravan was the great devotee of Lord Shiva. But with devotion, his ego, because he was very powerful, his ego also had become very powerful. So, do you know that Ravan, there's this Shiva Tandav Stotram, which is written by, is attributed to King Ravan of Sri Lanka. Anyway, so he was flying over the Himalayas and he stopped. Lord Shiva is at home, don't fly over his head. So how dare anyone stop me? He goes under the mountain and picks it up. See the right hand. It's actually shown as a 3D, you know, Ravan picking up Mount Kailash. And the left hand is on the floor. And there's strain on the spine and the buttocks. Okay, this is literally poetry in stone. And he's trying to pick up Lord Kailash. And look at all the residents of Mount Kailash looking at Lord Shiva for help. Look at Goddess Parvati, who's seated on the left side. If you're looking at the picture, she's on the left. And she is actually turning around to Lord Shiva saying, help, help. And what does Lord Shiva do? With his right foot, right toe, he pins down the mountain and traps Ravan. He cries out aloud and sorry, please forgive me. And Lord Shiva is very bhola, so he forgives him. And he gives him the name Ravan, which means one whose cries can be heard in 3 worlds. Okay, can we have the next? So You can become powerful, you can become rich, but if God wants to teach you a lesson, he just has to click a finger or press a toe. Okay, actually the Yogeshwar Shiva is at the bottom, but I've purposely put the other pictures so that you can see it very clearly. Now this is the Yogeshwar Shiva, the last panel. This is Lord Shiva. The word yoga means union of man and God. Here is Lord Shiva himself in meditation, eyes closed, face serene, body still, hands in meditative posture, feet in lotus posture. He's seated on a lotus with two snakes entwined. And there are, on the right side, there are celestial musicians, the Gandharvas playing music. What is the symbolism about this lotus with these two snakes entwined? Okay. First of all, I spoke of the snake going up in your body, okay, in your outer body, auric level, okay. Now, there are 72,000 nadis or nerve channels which are in the auric body of each and every human being, or each, and this carries a lot of prana, or what is called ki or chi or energy, and these three nadis especially are very important. Soon you're going to celebrate Navratri. So this central channel is Shushumna. Shushumna is goddess Kali. She is cutting your karmas. Okay? And once the karmas are cut, goddess Saraswati, Ida, okay, she comes with gifts of music, gifts of writing, gifts of speech, gifts of if you're gifts of making money, okay. So she comes with all the gifts, and when all those gifts come, do you think Mahalakshmi can be behind? So goddess Lakshmi also comes and bestows wealth on you. So Shakti is at the bottom of the spine, okay, at the root chakra, and Shiva is on your crown. So it's a union of Shakti who comes to meet Shiva at the on your crown. And the day it happens, you realize God. Rather, not realize God, you realize yourself, because God is energy. He made everything from himself. So how can you be different? It's just that we go searching for God outside, but actually God is inside us. All these places that they built temples on in the ancient times, okay, they built it on, like this is basalt rock, which is very powerful lava rock. Then there are crystals in some mountains on which they built temples. The whole idea was that they made these places with energy, which infuse energy. So a person, seeker, it was easy for that seeker to be in that, to be able to seek God within himself in such places. That was the whole idea. And this is a very beautiful temple. Please come and have a look at it. It's a World Heritage Site on the UNESCO list. Really wonderful. I always tell my tourists, after I go huffing, puffing, 120 steps, but I ask my tourists, was it worth climbing the 120 steps? And they always say yes. And if you like Elephanta, it's appetizer, go and see Ajanta Ellora, which are the main course. Okay. So I would also like to point out another thing to you all. Do you know some guides show it in Kabbalah structure? So the two, like there are 9 panels, okay, and so two a set of twos. So the first is the beginning and Natraja Shiva, and the end the Yogeshwar Shiva. The 2 panels which remove negativity, that is our lust, anger, greed, attachment to material things, ego. That's the Ravan and the Andhakasur panels. Then there is 2 panels of earthly life. That is the wedding and the playing of the chaucer, the game of dice. And the 2 panels of spiritual life, the bringing down of Ganga from heaven, and the union of Shiv and Shakti. And of course, the main panel is one, to be one with God. So this is really worth coming to Elephanta. Okay, any questions that I can answer? Hello.
Thank you, Jaru, for taking us through this wonderful story of Elephanta. Just for the sake of information and people who are new to Bombay, how does one reach Elephanta? What is the convenient way? How to get in there? And
Okay.
normally, how much time can one spend in Elephanta just from the tourist point of view?
Okay. First of all, you go to the Gateway of India and you catch a boat from Gateway of India to Elephanta. And then you can spend 4 hours if you wish. So if you go on a 9 o'clock boat, you can come back by 12 o'clock boat, or you can spend a whole day. A lot of local people selling trinkets and art artifacts which you can pick up. And please buy something from these local people, so their economy also survives. They also have to live, so their economy also needs to survive. And then there is so you have to pay for the boat, you have to pay for, which is approximately 200 and something. Prices might have gone up now. Then there is 10 rupees for the train, which goes from the jetty to the bottom of the hill. Then you have to pay a tax, 5 rupees. And then upstairs, you pay some 40 rupees for entering Elephanta for Indians. And for the foreigner, it is some 600 rupees or more. We'll see when it opens up again. We'll see what the new prices are.
Fine. And this caves are closed during monsoons, right? Due to the weather conditions.
They're not closed, but most people don't go because the sea can be stormy. And but they are open, but it will be advisable to go in non-monsoon time. But and of course, if there's a red flag on the sea, the boats will definitely not go. So
Fine.
that's always there.
Jaru, there are some questions coming up. We have Mr.
Yeah.
Randeep Singh Bagela. He is from the IATO chairman of Gujarat. He is asking any other way to go up the stairs if one cannot climb up.
There are these palanquin bearers, palki wala, who pick you up for a price. So they charge you money, 1,000 rupees for a return journey. When it opens again, we'll have to see what they are charging. I always feel that there should be some lift or something, elevator which goes up, taking 100 people together up above. And but that's the only 2 ways. Either you walk up, or you go slowly like I do. I go slowly. It takes me 15 minutes and I'm I'm fat, I'm overweight. Okay, it takes me 15 minutes to go up. So I'm sure the first time I went to Elephanta, I promised myself, I'm not going to do Elephanta. But till date, I've never refused a Elephanta assignment ever. I love going to Elephanta.
Fine. And any other attractions beside the caves around Elephanta?
There is a cannon hill upstairs where the Portuguese left a cannon upstairs. Okay. The stupa, there are other caves also. And the stupa hill is, there's no place, I mean, there's no, they've not made a road to go upstairs. Otherwise, no. But you can spend a whole day, you know, Indian people usually come with families to have a picnic. One has to be careful because there are monkeys around. So one has to be careful. It's a forest. Don't forget that. There are snakes abound. There are, so it's a forest. But it's very well, this thing kept by ASI. Only thing is, okay, I didn't want to say it, but there were bats above the Mahesh Murthy. And 2 years I yelled and screamed and told every official and every minister I could convey to, and I told them to remove the bats. It's only when Mr. Venkatesan became the regional director over here, I complained to him as well. And he went to Elephanta. In 2 days, the bats were gone. Because I was very scared that it would damage the Mahesh Murthy. Thank you, Mr. Venkatesan.
Thank you. And the Elephanta Cave Festival, is there a question about Elephanta Cave Festival? There used to be a festival.
Yeah, in winter they have this in February or so. A dance festival, dance and music festival. Let's see now when it opens up, only we'll come to know what is going to happen because we are all living in a new world now. So let's see what happens.
Fine. I don't know if you can take this question. Was the island ever part of Bombay mainland or which moved away, or was there a reason for the caves to be in the sea?
No. Bombay itself is 7 islands in the Arabian Sea, 8 islands in the Arabian Sea. So where's the question of, but I definitely feel that this Elephanta Caves shivling is very, 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 very powerful. So I always feel that it looks after Bombay. I'm telling you, anything happens to that shivling, Bombay has had it. This is my personal take on it. Okay, people can differ, but this is my take on it.
Fine. You know, you were told about the gold and silver and diamonds adorning, etc. We have a question here. What happened to those gold jewels and paintings?
I don't know what happened to them. Must have been looted. What else happens? Okay, but I only saw it in. No archaeologists have come up with this thing. Okay, in fact, I told this archaeologist because I had one experience with another friend of his, where he took us to this burial site in Canary Caves, and he told us take a brick and sit down. So we sat down. Next, I told him, there's energy coming from these stones, you know, these bricks. So he said, thank God. When I tell people, people think I'm mad. So thank God I met another mad person. So I told this friend of this particular, this thing, I said, look, I'm telling you what I saw in my meditation. It is for you to check and whether what I'm saying is right or not. So see, every place has its beginning and end, okay? Every place, one should not get very attached to everything. I'll tell you why. Because at first, there were these God-realized masters over here. Slowly, there came a time when they started sacrificing small animals like goat, a hen. And sometimes I've even seen in my sitting in meditation, because I'm slightly clairvoyant, I've seen tigers which have been sacrificed over here. and probably even human beings. So every place has its own story. So God knows what he, when you say a leaf doesn't move without God say so, then how can you say that this was destroyed by this one or that one? I always tell my tourists, who knows, I could have been the Portuguese soldier who destroyed Elephanta, because now as a punishment I have to come up and down 120 steps. And I always tell the story of Swami Vivekananda. He went to the Himalayas where he found this uh, Mother Goddess's temple broken, and he cried to the Mother Goddess. He said, if I was alive then, I would have done anything to look after your temple. Pat came the reply from the Mother Goddess. She started laughing. She said, I rule the world. When I want, I will build temples. When I want, I'll destroy them. Who are you to guard me? So if you remember that, okay, and remember that Shakti is within you, the Shiv is within you. Only the karma is what you can better your karma. We all come back with, I was we have 84, according to the Vedas, we have 84 lakh lives. Not lives, species of species that we live in. Okay, 84,000 species. Okay, and human life is only itself is, we come back and go back 4 lakh times. Okay, so we come as animals, we come as birds, we come as fish, we come as worms, we come as every uh, species. So we don't know what we've done. We all come with baggage on our backs. Okay, so people talk of terrorism. Go and visit the Tata Memorial and see how a cancer patient suffers. My brother's died of cancer. It's horrible at the end. Horrible. You at that time you want that person to go. It's horrible. Okay. So so let's guard our karma. Let's do good work in life. Let's do good to people. Let's be loving, caring, give a lot of love to people. That's what we should do in life.
Yeah. Thank you, Jaru, for this very informative session of storytelling. In fact, stories are something which really interest all ages and everybody. In fact, we had a great attendance today. I thank all the viewers who joined in to our request and to hear the story of Elephanta, one of the most famed UNESCO World Heritage Site in Maharashtra and closer to Mumbai. And in fact, if you look at, one could go to every corner of India and not experience the same thing twice. So India is totally an unexpected experience. It has.
Can I interrupt you, sir?
Yes.
You know how I end my tour? I tell my tourists, yes, we have this many states and this many union territories, and if you you can come back at least that many times to India. Okay, and I tell them very honestly that even I cannot boast that I've seen the whole country. I would be as much a foreigner in some parts of the country as they are. And when a tourist tells me he's been in India 6 months, I definitely know he has seen more than I have. And I want more tour operators to send people to Elephanta. I want more tour operators to send people to Ajanta Ellora. I don't want tour operators to go and sell slum tour. I'm so sorry, sir, but I'm so sorry. I want people to see what is good and best in my country, not see. They have slums in New York also. They have slums everywhere in the world. Okay, let them go and look after their own slums. Let them go and look after their own poor people. Okay, just because they want to be kind to in a third world country, please don't sell slum tours. Okay, right. Sell Elephanta and sell Ajanta.
Jaru, if you can share your email ID, we have requests for your contact details. If you can share your email ID for people to connect with you.
Yeah, it's Jaru, is JERRO, Bharucha is BHARRUCHA @gmail.com. So I'll repeat it. J for Japan, E for England, double R for Russia, double O for Orange, B for Bombay, H for Holland, A for America, double R for Russia, U for United, C for Calcutta, H for Holland, A for America
Yeah.
@gmail.com. All letters are small.
Yeah, and in fact, Chandar has put it here. Thank you so much for that. And I also take this opportunity to thank Parul, as always, for supporting us with the technical backup and seamlessly organizing these webinars. Well, India has so much to offer, and in fact, of course, the Western region has amazing destinations. In this series, we promise to come back again with stories from our great storytellers that we have in our regional level guides. So look forward to our future announcements. With this, I take leave and wish you all a very good evening. And
Again, one more thing.
yes,
Okay, I want people, tourists, to stay in Bombay for more than 1 day. Okay, because a lot of tourists complain that the tour operators keep us only for 1 day, and they are like, we are in the best city of India, and why are we kept here only for 1 day? So please, people can easily spend a whole week in Bombay. Okay, at least 2-3 days. Okay. Thank
fine.
you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Jaru, again for your time. Thank you
My
all
pleasure.
viewers.
My pleasure.
And
My
we
pleasure.
take leave and wait for announcement for our next story, which will be coming up next Wednesday. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye. Take care, everyone. Go safely.
Thank
Stay
you.
safe.